Just out of interest, how many of you are web developers? Right, that's good. That's good, so this is appropriate. Any freelancers? Yeah, cool. Anyone thinking of being a freelancer? Okay, interesting. Okay, great. So I'm Benjamin Fountain. I'm the Managing Director of ZZ. We're a web development company. And so today we are doing a meetup which is called Web Developers Can Work Anywhere at any time. And that's true, but there's also a lot more involved with being a web developer and a freelancer than just being able to work anywhere anytime. So what we're going to do to begin with is do a little bit of an experiment, and I'll need your assistance with this. So we're going to work together on it. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through 5 slides, and each of the slides is a question. It's a situation, so it's understanding if you are suitable for being a freelancer. And you can rate yourself between 0 and 10. If you rate yourself at a 0, then that's not really good for freelancing. If you're rating yourself as a 10, that's perfect for freelancing. So these situations are weighted to see who is appropriate for this. And it will just give you an idea as to what is required in this role and what to expect, and kind of get you thinking about it. So I want you to, each slide, just look at the scale and work out where you think you come and write down the number. Because at the end of it, when we've done the 5 slides, you're going to then look at it and we're going to have a total, and that total will indicate where you are on the scale at the end. Okay, so I call freelancing a sweet spot because it's a cross between being in a 9-to-5 job and being in a business. In a 9-to-5 job, obviously you've got the security of knowing you've got a regular payment every month. Whereas in a business, there's a lot more risk orientated, and you're developing something new. Obviously, as a freelancer, you get less job security, but more personal freedom. And there's no guaranteed income, but your income is potentially unlimited. So this is understanding where you see yourself in terms of your role. Do you see yourself as a person who enjoys a 9-to-5 job and likes the security of that paycheck? Or do you see yourself as a very risk-oriented business owner, in which case you're at either end of the scale? What we want is for you to like a mix of the both, and then you're kind of around the 8 to 10 mark, as you can see. The further you are in terms of a 9-to-5 job and wanting that security, then you go down the scale to 2, 3, and the further you are towards business, you're again down the scale to 2, 3, and then right in the middle, that's the perfect position for being a freelancer. Myself, I put myself at about a 2, and that's because I'm trying to build a business, and I'm trying to build it a very big business, a very global business. And that's not what freelancing is about. Freelancing is about working as yourself and taking on jobs and not employing further people, because obviously then it becomes a business. Okay, the next is ability. Obviously you need ability in something, and you're all web developers, so I guess that would be where your ability lies. My ability is in actually a graphic design. That's how I started. And so I wouldn't rate myself particularly highly on graphic design, but if you're a freelancer, you've got to have a skill, and you've got to have a certain level to that skill. And what I would recommend is that you specialize in a particular part of that skill to become known as that person. So it might be that you're very good at building APIs, or you're very good at the e-commerce side, or maybe you're really good at doing security for servers. And if you can specialize in those particular areas, then it's much easier for you to become known for that type of work. And then you will get more work just on your reputation alone. So, as I was saying, I started as a graphic designer, so that was a while ago. I still do a bit of graphic design, but if I was going to be a freelancer now, I don't think I would be at the level where other graphic designers are. So I would put myself, again, sort of like a 4, something like that. So think about where you are on that scale, and write that down and put a note on that in terms of your ability and what you can offer to other people. So motivation. Obviously, being a freelancer, there comes a lot of freedom. Freedom to do what you want to do. You're not told to get up in the morning, you're not told to do the work that you would usually do. It's up to you to do that work. And so with that, freedom becomes a responsibility. And what you need to be able to motivate yourself is a passion for what you do, the love for what you do. So that when you wake up in the morning, you really want to get to work, you want to get on with that job that you started, and you enjoy it. And that gives you the motivation that you need. If you're in a 9-to-5 job, then obviously you're only going to need, you can get away with a couple of hours. I know people are very passionate, some people are very passionate about their 9-to-5 jobs and they give it everything, but in reality, you could get away with half of the motivation you would do as a freelancer. As a freelancer, you're going to need full bars. You're going to need to have a lot of motivation to be able to do the work, and work, especially if you're working on your own from home. There's a lot of distractions, and you're going to need to focus. So that's motivation. So think about where you are on that scale, and consider that. In terms of, if I was a graphic designer, again, going back to being a graphic designer and a freelancer, I wouldn't enjoy that very much. To be honest, for me, that would come up to about 5. I wouldn't have the motivation to be able to sustain that and keep that going. So, patience and understanding, this is very important because customers, as you may well know, can be quite annoying and often do things when you don't expect. They can ask a lot of questions, they can interfere, they can criticize your work, and that's all part of being a freelancer, to be able to take that on board, not be offended, and still give a reasonable response and consideration. We had a customer, a client once, where we were doing like a chimney. They call them cows. They go on the top of chimneys, and they were, we won't name the company, but basically they wanted a completely flash site. Everything flashed. They didn't want any HTML, they just wanted some kind of animation, like birds flying over the top of these houses and everything, and animation in the street. And we told them several times, many times, this is not going to work, guys. You're going to struggle with SEO. People want to buy your products. They don't want to have like a movie scene. It's not what they're looking for. But the client was adamant that this was the way to go. It's what they really wanted to do. And so at the end of the day, they are the boss. And we said, okay, we're going to do that. And we did that. And it was very good in terms of animation. And it was quite an interesting thing. It looked interesting. But when they quickly found out a couple of months later, it wasn't getting traffic. People were having trouble ordering or knowing what to do. They liked the graphics, but it wasn't really working for them. And obviously, we could say, we told you so, and be very like that about it. But that wouldn't be the right thing to do. So you have to have a lot of patience and understanding with your clients. And if you're a sort of person that snaps, if you get criticized for one thing, then it's maybe not for you. But personally, I've got a lot of demanding clients and a very demanding wife, so I would say I'm kind of pretty high in terms of patience and understanding, and so I would mark myself there. So think about where you would gauge yourself and write down a number. So business mind. It's not just about doing what you love every day. You also have to do the necessary business things, which are accounts, You've got to work out your taxation, you've got to do your invoicing, you've got to do customer services, and you've got to get the jobs in the first place. So you've got to do marketing and you've got to do sales. That's something that's going to take up a lot of time, and it basically means that you're going to become like a jack of all trades. You've got to be versatile, you've got to understand that you can't just be a coder, you can't just be a designer. You have to be someone who's able to do all sorts of things to be able to move forward with your work and with your job. So think about where you are on that scale and how you would handle that. I mean, I've been in business for 10 years and I do a lot of different work, and my business has grown now, so I have assistants and people that help me, but in the beginning it was just me, and I was doing design work and do a lot of design work, and I was also doing the invoicing and doing the accounts, and so that's normal as a freelancer, and so I would rate myself as quite high there, a 9. So, where did you come on this scale? In terms of, I guess, in terms of the scale, if you were between sort of 0 to 25, then maybe freelancing isn't for you. However, firstly, people tend to mark themselves down quite harshly in terms of ability. That's not always the case, and you can consider that. And also, I've got an opportunity later on that I'm going to talk about where a lot of the business side of the things you won't need to do. I came about 27, which is on the good side of 25. So that means I could be a freelancer, but to be honest, I'm more interested in business, and building a big business is not what I want to do. And you've got to really want to do it. Marcella, who's also in our team, she rated highly, she got 35. So she says she's very patient and understanding, so not sure, but we'll give her that. And then Bent, I'm going to introduce you in a moment. He's our developer, Black Ops guy, so he has done very well. He's almost 50, and he is actually a freelancer. So definitely he's in the right job, doing the right thing. And he does a lot of work with our different clients, and he's what we call Black Ops, because he does a lot of work with us directly. So that's involved in a lot of startups and those kind of companies where it's new technologies, things that we haven't been doing before, and quite original, new things like London location, for example, where it's new concepts, and he's very good at that. And Bence is not just works for us, he also has other clients. He's a freelancer, but he's in the ZZ team. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to ask Bence this question, but I also want you to think if there are any questions that you might have for him or for me, then we can do a bit of question and answer right now and see how that goes. So Bence, what do you think are the main considerations for, if you're thinking about becoming a freelancer, or you want to work as a freelancer, what should you be considering?
I think one of the most important things is what Ben said before, that's the unpredictability. So you don't have a regular income every month. For example, when I started to work as a freelancer, I got approximately £2,000 for my first project. But then after the next 3 months, I got £50 per month. So you always have to have some savings, and you have to manage your money and income. And the next one is the time. So at the beginning, let's say you have a project with 1 month deadline, and you can be very lazy at the beginning because you have plenty of time, you think, and you don't do too much. You do some work, but you relax more. And when the deadline comes, you have to work in rush, and you will make mistakes, and you work 12 hours a day. So you have to learn how to manage your time. On the other side, many people are too strict really work too much and don't take any rest, which is also...
Yeah, you don't want to do an all-nighter and
Yes.
then completely knacker yourself out and then you can't do anything.
Yeah, you are too tired and you lose your motivation, and so you have to find the balance. The good news, you have a lot of freedoms. I'd say there are two main rules. Work has to be done in time, and you have to be comfortable necessarily. Otherwise, you are really free. For example, I usually work on airplanes, coach, trains when I travel somewhere, so to save that time. For example, I was working on the coach coming here from Oxford, so I saved that time for tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's good to have, if you have a regular client,
Yes.
you're working with a regular client, and you get work from them. It's about building that partnership, isn't it? Like we have a partnership, and we're working together, and since then, you've been able to probably earn a lot more in terms of income each month, and get more regular income because you constantly have work. And if you find a client like that, then obviously that's gold dust. And if you get a couple, then you are set. So you don't need that much to get to a good level as a freelancer. But it's just getting off the ground. Okay, so are there any questions that you have for me or for Ben that I can help with?
I guess, what's the best way to sell yourself to recruiters? Because what's the best way to sell yourself to recruiters? Because they always want to know this and this and this. Okay, fine.
Are you talking about recruiters like Blue Arrow or something?
Well, yeah. So, for example, contracting, you
Yeah.
go through recruiters, right? So, dealing with recruiters, what's the best way to deal with them, I guess, and to get the best out of them?
Have you dealt with recruiters before?
No.
Well, in terms of, I can only speak from my experience with ZZ, and that is a recruitment process which is all done online. And the best way is communication with that and supplying all the information that you possibly can, your CV, your portfolio, and talking through it. And I think from an employer's point of view, you want to know precisely what you did on each project. Like, what was it that you did that made this special, actually made an impact on this project?
Yeah.
And that is something that I can quickly relate to. This guy did this particular thing, and it's very similar to the project that we just did, or it's very similar to a job that's just come in. And it's all about, for us, matching up what are the requirements with who is available. And I think that's probably similar with recruitment companies.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah?
So how does that actually work with this in your business model?
I'm going to go through that in a little bit, so I think we'll leave that to them, but I'll be able to take any questions after that as well. So yeah, I'm just going to go through it in a few minutes actually. Anyone else? Yeah?
When you started out freelancing, how did you get your first client?
First client online, of course.
Online? So you sign up with a...
Yeah, I always look for job advertisements and opportunities.
Did you go to a particular website or did you advertise on your own website?
Both.
Oh, right.
I've done everything I did. But it's good if you have a part-time job when you start being a freelancer. For example, I was a pizza delivery driver in meantime when I started because it gave me a regular income. It was less stress.
Yeah, exactly. You can do that. Me too, actually. When I started my first business, I was working as a part-time creative manager for a scientific instruments company. And during the other days and the evenings, I was working and I developed a very successful company. And then at that point, it's a decision, do you continue with your job or do you go for something and do something you really want to do? So it was quite an easy decision.
Hi.
How much time do you actually spend developing? How much time do you spend doing like the business admin and the finding new work and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. So usually you can say the normal 8 hours per day. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Finding a new job, I think that's the most difficult part of the freelance life. I'm more like a freelancer than a marketing manager or.
You're more of a developer.
Yeah, I'm more a developer.
So do you do the finding work on top of your development work? So you do your 8 hours a day and then you do an extra couple of hours like finding more
Do you have a
Yes.
specific time doing?
Well, not really. Sometimes when I have a lot of work, for example with ZZ, I don't really look for any other project. Otherwise, I check the internet for new projects or new clients. It's hard at the beginning. When you became a successful freelancer and you've done a couple of successful projects, you will have a reputation, so you will be recommended to other people. It becomes easier.
So I'm the managing director of ZZ, and we are building a team of tech professionals all over the world, basically. So in every major city in the world, we're building a team of developers, designers, and salespeople, tech professionals who are going to build this company and take us further. And so we're looking at the moment, we're working on London, we're building a team in London, and then we're also building currently in Birmingham and Manchester. But then we'll be on to New York, San Francisco, Austin, and then in the other time zones, because what we want to do is to have a team in every time zone in the world, so that we will be able to offer to our clients 24/7 development. So if they have a project, for example, which needs constant attention, we can use our base of developers in every country to work around the clock in collaboration. We have a platform where all of our developers and our designers can log in and collaborate together and work together on projects. Sometimes the project will be just an individual project which can be done by one developer, but we do have quite large projects as well which will need collaboration between developers. So this is how we work. And the main difference between us, for example, and a freelance company like Elance or Odesk, for example, is that we are not a freelancer directory listing or anything like that. We are a brand, and everyone who works with us as a developer works under our brand. If they want a specific developer who does APIs or something like amazing, then we'll be able to find that person within our group of people, and we'll be able to give them exactly what they need. And this is a unique service to be able to provide a web development. Been in web development a long time, and I know exactly what the clients are looking for. And so this is why this concept has come about and why we're building this team. So what I'm looking for is that if people are interested, then I would like you to get involved and to consider working with us. It doesn't matter if you have a job already. It doesn't matter if you're already freelancing. For example, Bent is already freelancing with other clients as well. It's an opportunity to get further work and an opportunity to work with us as a company. And it could be that the opportunity is enough, more than enough, for you to sustain your living and give you the money that you're looking for. So what we want is for you to consider that. There's no obligation, you don't have to commit to anything. You are offered the jobs as they come through from our clients, and then you quote on them, and you're able to, we will consider then who is specifically best for this job, and then we will give them that job, and that will be the team for that job. In other situations, a client may select particular developers that they want to work on a job given their knowledge and understanding, and then maybe a more direct approach with the client. But in all situations, you work under ZZ as a team, And the main thing to mention with that as well is that you will then not have to do the marketing. You don't have to do the sales. You don't have to do the invoices and the admin. We are doing all of that for you. We have teams of sales executives who go out there and find the best jobs. And they don't just find any jobs. They know and they are given specific requirements given our skill base as a company. And they find the jobs that actually work for you and actually fit in with your abilities. And then those jobs are available to you. So it takes away a lot of the hassle which Spence was talking about in terms of the invoicing and the other work they have to do, and obviously the difficulty in finding new clients and getting a regular income. So how do you apply? If you want to apply, all you need to do is go to zz.co.uk, that's our website, /apply, and then click developers. And then it's basically 20 seconds, you put in your details, put in your email address, and then you're accessing the system. And that system will then take you through a recruitment process, which is quite simple. And following that, you'll become a ZZ team member, and then you'll be involved with all the projects that we have coming up, and you'll be working with us. So that's basically, I'm ready to take any questions that you have on this. Yeah.
So for example, if you have a project, say developing a website or developing an API, so how do you select a developer? Like, do you get all the CVs and you select it from there, or you pass the CV to your client, they will decide from the pool?
Well, during the process of the recruitment phase, we already have your CVs and we already work with you, and we've already identified exactly what your skills are and what your main abilities are. So we know each member of our team very well. When we have the jobs come through, then we will select the people that we will send this to as a potential job. And you will then be able to look at the job, see the exact specification, which is written out by us, it's not written out by the client. We actually talk to the client, work with the client to get an exact specification, not an airy-fairy type specification that clients come up with. We want an exact one, and we give that to you to quote on and give us your quote in terms of hours, because you've already set what your price is per hour. With everyone, they can decide what hours they work as a team member and how much you charge per hour. Because that's different for everybody, depending on your experience and what you've done and what you think your price is in the market, and that's fine. And then we take into account all of this information, and then we select individuals to send this job to. And then it's up to you to obviously come back to us punctually with a quote in terms of hours, and we'll then make a decision very quickly, and you'll be proceeding with the job. Any other questions?
So once the work is complete, then a person has to finally invoice you, or does it?
No, the person, it's automatic invoicing, so the system will automatically invoice us on your behalf, and then we will pay you, but we pay everyone at the end of the month for whatever work they've done during that month, because you log each work that you do on the system. So you're working during the day or work week, you log it, and then we know and we pay.
Right time.
So, yeah.
So on that subject,
How do you pay? Is it a company invoicing?
Sorry?
How do you pay? So,
we pay bank transfer direct to you.
is it a company to company transfer? How does it work? Is it a
We're a company yet, so we transfer from our company account to your
company?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yes, it's kind of related to that. So it's not, I know that some recruitment agencies take everyone on PAYE and then pay them a fixed amount as a salary, or a variable amount as a salary a month. It's not that.
It's not that, no, because you are still independent freelancer. Make that very clear. The contract and relationship between us is basically you're a freelancer, you're independent, but in terms of branding and how we brand you, it's under our team.
So if I was practicing as a limited company, that would be fine.
That would be fine, yeah, as long as obviously you invoice with the VAT, etc., then that's absolutely no problem.
And then what fee do you take? Do you put a markup on the developer's price, or do you take commission on what the developer decides to charge?
Yeah, we put a markup on the project, which includes our fee, and usually that's sort of between 10 to 30% depending on the project and what's involved. And then that's sent to the client. So there is a markup, yeah, that's our markup.
So from basically what you quote, you take, let's say, maximum 30%. So this is what you have to take account. It's not if I quote, let's say, I don't know,
No,
50k, I get 50k, you get that cut.
If you charge per hour £10 an hour and you work 10 hours, you get £100.
Ah, okay.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh.
What we quote the client is obviously up to us, and that's between us and the client. But generally, we will mark it up around 10 to 20%. It's possible, yeah. It depends on the client again. In terms of having teams, the reason why we have teams in different areas, so we have a London team, a Birmingham, is so that potentially if a client wants to launch in London, for example, we could either do a call with them, like a Skype call, or if the client as such, they want to meet up, we can all meet up at a hotel or a meet-up room or whatever. So we're in the locality. So that's possible, but not, I would say, not usual, because usually clients are not that concerned. They just want to know what the specification is and what's going to be done and how much it's going to cost. Obviously, first of all, we make sure that we do a proper technical specification so that it's black and white, there's no grey areas as little as possible. Secondly, if the client decides to change anything in any way, then we are charging more. We will tell them this is going to be more, and you will get a chance to re-quote on that particular element. But once the quote is fixed, then it's fixed. And then it's just about, if there's anything else, it's additional.
Let's say that an estimate, a visual estimate, which was 50% wrong, and
50% wrong?
Yeah, I mean, let's say I said $100 and I need $200.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an extreme example.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be careful, obviously, to make sure you consider a job properly and ask it a question, because once it's in black and white, and it's a fixed price quote, it is a fixed price quote. I mean, we will be building options for later on working per hour with clients and making it more flexible, but that's something that we have yet to build. So initially it's going to be fixed price quotes, and you have to be sure of your quote. And I would recommend that you put in margins per error. And you should probably do that with any freelance job anyway. Build in margins per error so that you're making sure that you're well covered and that you're going to make a good profit from the job.
How does the contract look like in terms of revisions?
Revisions?
Yes.
Okay, that would, if the client wants something, then to change it, then they'll have to go through a process to change it.
Yeah, well, but what if they say, oh, what you delivered doesn't quite meet what we expected?
Well, that would be a discussion with them, but in terms of if we consider it has met the specification, then that's what we hold strong to, and then we work with them to see how we can resolve it. I mean, these are situations, as in any freelancing situation, your client may have a different opinion to you about something, but the key point is that we will be working with them on your behalf. Because our fixed price is as well as your fixed price. So it's in our interest to make sure that they are happy with that and that they agree with that. And we're not going to come back to you and say, oh, can you do this, can you do that? It's going to be more expensive than that. Sorry, I don't know how we're doing for time. Yeah, sure.
So who does the assertion whether the project has met all the requirements? Like when a developer submits the tool, is there a tester on your side?
Yes, we have testers as well. We go through the testing and obviously user cases, make sure it's fulfilling all the criteria of the job, and that report will be sent to us, and the report will be obviously then sent on to the client as well to say if this fulfills the requirement. No, we deal with a wide range of technologies. A lot of our jobs are PHP based.
Is that majority?
The majority.
Yeah, PHP.
But we do have .NET work as well, and we also are doing some mobile applications and other technology, all kinds of technologies. Very wide range. We don't want to be you know, exclusive on our technologies. We want to be expansive on our technologies, but exclusive on our markets. And in terms of markets, we work a lot with startups. That's where we do well. And also the recruitment industry and a few others. But we want to build out our industries by understanding what you guys do, by understanding your experience and talent, and we can then build out our market. Because if you have talents in particular areas, we are going to market those areas. Okay, one last question.
So if you come in a full-time job,
yeah,
what would be the minimum amount of hours you would accept if someone wanted to do it?
Well, that's a good question. I think minimum probably you'd want at least, if you try for about 10 hours a week, maybe that would be, because you still be able to do something substantial within that period. But we're open to it. So even if it's a bit less, we can still try with a few things. Things like branding, we're working on particular small sites and that kind of stuff. Sometimes there's little jobs which we can start you on. And that's the thing about starting, make a start, because that can often build into something. If you get started, you can see I'm getting money from this, and then okay, I'll dedicate a bit more time to it. I'll put a bit more time to it, see how far I can take it again, and then again, and then again. And that's how, the safest way is to transition from a job or a business into that role. Okay, I'm going to move on now, but I will be available. Vince is going to be available. Marcello is going to be available. And at the end of this, if you want to chat to any of us, then we're more than happy and we'd love to talk to you about it. Okay, so